Lee, that I obviously didn't give it the consideration that it deserved, and it's not appropriate, and they shouldn't have paid it, and I shouldn't have asked them to pay it.
But were you actually short of money or something to have a donor pay a personal debt? You explain why any politician would do that.
Well, look, firstly, Heath, it was a office travel overspend. I should have paid it myself. I didn't. I regret that, and I'm not here to kind of justify or make excuses for it. I'm here to say, fess up and say, you know, I was in the wrong. I should have paid it myself. I didn't. Obviously, I incredibly kind of regret that. But more importantly, you know, I mean, look, you have to ask yourself, for me, what is the lesson for me from all of this? And for those who know me, and some of you know me very well, some of you, you know, don't know me all that well at all, I know that I'm someone who's probably got a bias towards action, and I'm kind of a fairly driven 100 miles an hour type of person. I think the lesson for me out of all this is to learn that perhaps reflect more. And look, it's been it's been a learning experience. But
were you short of money at the time?
Look, again, I'm not here to justify. I should have made the payment myself. I didn't. I'm in the wrong, and I'm apologising.
Sorry.
We'll get to
You're
Andrew.
saying you just did this at the spur of the moment. You just acted and went for it. That sort of insinuates that this is something that you would do all the time or have done before.
Well,
Can
no.
you rule out that you've done this? You've asked a donor to pay a person?
Yes, I can rule out that any matter of that kind is always on my pecuniary interest register. And let's be clear, right? What I made here was an error of judgment, right? Because I should not have asked them to make that payment. Now, Christopher Pine and others and those in the media have been asking this question about, was it technically within the rules or not? Or what? I take no solace in the fact that it was technically within the rules, and it was. I should never have asked them to do that. I should have made the payment myself, and I should have reflected on that before doing so. And the fact that it was all disclosed and it is all declared doesn't explain that.
Well, why did you
Andrew.
hold that press conference and make those comments on the South China Sea?
Okay, let's say this is a separate matter. I don't want to get to this.
What is it?
I support the Labor Party position on the South China Sea. I support the Labor Party position. I support an international rules-based system with international norms where the rule of law is applied. Now, that has been my position. That remains my position. That is the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea.
It wasn't in that press conference.
Look. Now, while I can't be held directly to words that were held at a press conference that I don't have a transcription of in front of me. Let me be clear. I support the Labor Party position on this issue. No, Andrew. I'll get to that in a moment. I support the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea. And if there is an instance in which I have misspoken or been misquoted, then that is wrong.
So, Senator, can you just confirm for accuracy, did you actually say the South China Sea is China's own affair on this issue, Australia should remain neutral and respect China's decision? Did you actually say that?
I support the Labor Party position. No.
You were paying the donors.
No. I support the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea. Now, look, I am not aware of that being my exact words, but I want to be very clear. If there is an instance where I have misspoken, I was wrong. The Labor Party position on this is very clear. I support the Labor Party position, and I reject outright any assertion or insinuation or impression that's been pushed by those across politics that any of my statements or decisions have been made for any reason other than the national interest and the public interest. I reject that outright.
Why else did you hold the press up and make those comments?
Well, hang on.
To make those comments?
There are, during federal election campaigns, there are quite often press conferences that are held with different community groups, and especially groups from non-English-speaking backgrounds, where community leaders participate in those press conferences. Now, let's be clear. Right? I support the Labor Party position on the South China Sea.
But
why
you're
did you
saying
make
back
those
to
statements at
donors,
the press
Sam, weren't
conference?
you?
Sorry.
Why did you make those statements then at the press conference that seem to contradict the Labor Party stance?
Well, look, firstly, if I have misspoken on this issue in the past, in this instance,
Did you misspeak?
then I would have been wrong. Right? I support the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea.
So you just tripped over the words, did you?
Because it's completely contrary to your party's policy. It wasn't
I mean, look,
a lapse of words.
So I can't be any clearer. I support the Labor Party policy and the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea.
So you just weren't thinking straight. You just sort of tripped over the words and, there you are. And it's just what your donors wanted, you know.
Well, Andrew, look, I support the Labor Party position on the issue of the South China Sea. And look, I'm being very... I just want to... Look, I made a mistake.
It's cash for comment, isn't it?
I reject it. I'll get to you in a second, Andrew. I made a mistake. I asked a private company to settle a $1,670 office overspend that I should have paid for myself. I accept that and I take responsibility for that. I completely reject an assertion or implication that in any way, shape or form, any of my comments or decisions have been influenced by anything other than the national interest.
Did they ask for anything in return?
No. And let's be clear, right? No one has ever asked for anything in return, or nor would I have done anything in return. And I've been very clear about this, right? While all these matters have all been clearly outlined on my pecuniary interest register, which is an open book, which I'm sure most of you and everyone's kind of been through and asked me kind of questions about. There is a higher test, which is, does it pass community standards? And in the instance, quite clearly, of this $1,670 payment, I should have made that payment myself. I regret that. I'm sorry. And Bill Shorten has counselled me very, very strongly about
Is it more than a coincidence?
Sorry? I'll look. That legal debt has been canvassed quite openly in the media in the past. As I understand, there is a confidentiality between the company, but I think those amounts that have been canvassed in the media, as I understand, are pretty close to the mark.
So about $5 million.
Again, those are very close to the quite right on the mark. But no. Look. This has been on my pecuniary interest register for. Okay, so Sean, just let me answer it. I'll get to you. I think I'm giving you a fair shot. This is a matter that's been on my pecuniary interest register for over, I believe, 2 years now. It is not uncommon for parliamentarians who have legal bills supported by outside sources. I note that Bob Brown himself had legal bills supported by outside sources. What's important is that there be full transparency where the declarations are properly are made. In this instance, it was properly made. Look, all of this is on my pecuniary interest register so that it's out there so people can see and so that people can actually make these types of judgments. Now, in the case of
Why would a private company get all interest in covering a legal debt?
Look, again, this matter has been on my pecuniary interest register now for over 2 years. It's out there for the public. It's been well canvassed in the media, well, no, I think I could have. It is publicly there on my pecuniary interest register for anyone to see.
In both these cases, were you not worried about the fact that you were in debt to these organisations for paying private bills? There could potentially be some sort of conflict of interest. That didn't cross your mind?
I think it's fair to say that I did not reflect, particularly on the $1,670 payment, that I did not reflect on that before doing so, before asking them to make the payment. Look, and I want to be clear, right? I am in the wrong on this. I should have paid it myself. The question for me has to be, well, what is the lesson that you learn from going through an experience like this?
You've been making a name for yourself going after big corporations who've acted inappropriately and going on transparency, accountability and whatnot. I'm just wondering, how could you be doing that in your professional life but not in your own?
Okay, no.
Lee, aware of these sorts of
Lee, that is an incredibly fair question. And I think what I've said, and I want to be consistent on this, my issue with some of these larger corporations, the multinationals and the banks, isn't that they make mistakes. They make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And I want to be very clear. I have made a mistake. Right? And they make mistakes and we make mistakes and everyone. The question is, does those mistakes change your behaviour and do you learn from those mistakes? My issue with Australian banking hasn't been that they've always got everything 100% right or 100% wrong or this or that. My problem is that when they've done the wrong thing, they haven't been prepared to fess up and they haven't been prepared to change. Now, I'm saying that I, in this instance, made a mistake. I did the wrong thing and there are huge lessons here for me.
Because you've cited a couple of examples for me, so it's more than a mistake.
Look, it's a mistake in that there was a $1,670 bill that I should have paid for myself, and that I asked a private company to pay.
Can you, Senator, if a government minister was making these kind of repeated mistakes, they potentially resign. You'd certainly be front of line calling their resignation. Why won't you resign from your role?
Look, I've made a mistake. I accept that I've made a mistake, and my job now is to work harder, double my efforts, and demonstrate to my colleagues and the Australian public that I deserve to have the role that I have.
Did you offer your resignation to Bill Shorten?
No.
Have you offered?
I haven't been asked.
During the election campaign, did any Chinese interests or Chinese-related interests fund your campaign in any way?
Not my campaign, no.
And so you had some Sam Dastyari billboards around the place. How did you pay for them?
Well, I didn't.
Who paid for them?
There were no Sam Dastyari billboards.
Really?
Yeah.
Senator, your experience.
Oh, there's these posters that have been around the streets.
Well, I was told there was a billboard down in Victoria Road, Lemoyne, and it may have been funded by Chinese interests. No truth in that? Because, of course, you wouldn't have to dispose of it.
No. I think what you're talking about, Aaron, I believe what you may be talking about was a poster that was at the end of last year, which was about tax transparency, having a go at the Greens Libs deal, which was crowdsourced and declared and paid for through the proper donation kind of system. But no, they're not.
Senator, do you accept that this makes you look at worst dodgy and at best cheap?
I accept that I made a mistake, that I did the wrong thing, and that I need to double my efforts to make sure I maintain the trust of my colleagues in the Australian public.
Senator, do you have any other views about China that are Sam Dastyari views and not ALP views, like maybe potentially about Tibet? Do you have an individual view that might go away from the ALP central office?
Look, I think there's a very broad scope of different views within the Labor Party on an issue like China, and I think that my views and the Labor Party views kind of fit quite well together. And that's okay, right? And, there's a lot of kind of scrutiny and kind of speculation. There are over 1 million Chinese Australians. So there's over 1 million people who identify as being an Australian with Chinese heritage in the last census. We don't know what this census is going to say. But over 1 million. And, there are a whole range of different views amongst the Sydney Chinese community and amongst the Australian Chinese community, as there are amongst all different communities.
Senator, you're an experienced politician. Doesn't it stretch credibility that you could make such a simple, what you say is a mistake, as to get someone else to pay your bills?
Sorry, can you answer that? I didn't quite catch the question.
Well, with your experience in politics, doesn't it stretch credibility that you could say you make such a mistake that you would allow someone else to pay your debts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I assume you meant the experience as a compliment. I note that I'm 33, but look, I mean, all I can say is the truth, and all I can say is that I made a mistake, and all I can do when you've made a mistake is to learn from that mistake. And the lesson here, and the lesson for me in all of this has to be, how do you maintain your passion, your energy, excitement, all those things, but at the same time, perhaps slow down, reflect more, and that's the lesson for me out of all this. And I've got to say, I mean, Bill Shorten couldn't have been kind of stronger on this. Bill spoke to me quite forcefully. Bill counselled me quite strongly. I think Bill was frankly quite disappointed. He believed that I had made a mistake, which I did. He believed that I needed to not only immediately repay it, but certainly to apologise. I have a responsibility to make sure that I can show my team that their trust and support of me is warranted.
Do you support a ban on foreign donations?
Sorry, Heath, so just ask the question
Do
again.
you support a ban on foreign donations? Because that would be a complete 180 to what you've been doing in the past.
I think certainly having this debate now about banning foreign donations, where you look at where the community has moved to, is the right debate to have. And frankly, we should be banning foreign donations. I support the Labor Party policy on this issue, and certainly having seen the past week and the media and the criticisms and everything in the past week, it is important to make sure community expectations and community standards have been kind of maintained. And I think banning foreign donations goes an important step in restoring the trust and confidence in our political system. As does frankly, people being prepared, as I'm being prepared here, to admit when they've made mistakes and to admit when they're wrong.
Was it more than a coincidence that 10 days after declaring this payment, he used the Senate estimates hearing to grill the head of DFAT about the South China Sea dispute?
If you go through my Senate questions, as I sit in this Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee, you will find a whole host of questions around a whole host of different countries, around a whole host of different matters. And I reject the entire premise that there is any type of a link between the two. But certainly, it would be a job of an Australian senator sitting in Senate estimates in the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, of course, is going to be asking, amongst other questions regarding Australia's largest trading partner, as I did.
There's been a lot of reports in the last couple of weeks about Chinese influence in Australia, soft power, they call it.
Yeah.
Do you have any reflections on whether that's a good or a bad thing?
What?
Got to you.
Well,
Are you agent of Chinese?
I'm not even going to. I'm going to. That question is so offensive. I'm not even going to take the premise of the second point. But I believe, in fairness, that was more of a jibe than an actual question. Look, I think it's important that there be confidence within the system, and a ban in foreign donations goes an important step in achieving that. And certainly after the past week and the debate that we've had as a nation, as a community about all of this, has only strengthened that view in my mind.
Senator, as you well know, the New South Wales Party contributed hundreds of thousands towards Craig Thompson's efforts. To your knowledge, was any Chinese money used in that?
No.
So then why is it taking you a week to come out and actually address all of this in detail?
Well, immediately afterwards, I made the next morning when I had an opportunity to reflect, I made a statement in the Senate, and frankly, Lee, I'll be honest, I spent the past few days asking myself, what are the lessons from all of this? How did this come about? And what have I learnt from it all? And I wanted to make sure I got that right before I came out.
Why did you go to Top Education to pay the bill? Why did you know they in particular would do it? Why didn't you go to someone else?
Look, Top Education are a Sydney firm that I knew in Sydney, to the Sydney Chinese community, and frankly, it would have been inappropriate whoever I had have asked. It would have been inappropriate if I've asked them to pay, or the Labor Party, or a trade union, or whoever. The issue here wasn't, the appropriateness wasn't the company. The inappropriateness was that I should have made that payment myself, and frankly, I just couldn't be thinking. So look, I might
Do you think
Education was
pay
hoping
that
to gain by paying that debt for you.
no, I don't believe they were hoping to get anything.
Why do they
do you
pay
think
you?
organisations like that donate to you without expecting something in return?
Look, that is a whole broad... Look, the answer is I've never done anything for a donation, and nor would I do anything for a donation. But the broader question... the broader question, Andrew, you're asking, which is around the issue of donation reform. Well, look, I think that's a debate we're certainly having now. I think that's a positive thing for us to have. And frankly, I think nationally we should be looking at the New South Wales system, which I think, while has had its flaws and problems, has actually now been road tested and is not a bad model for us to adopt across the nation.
So you think that they just settled that bill for you out of the goodness of their hearts?
Look, I can't speak for Top Education. What I can say is this. I got a private company to settle a bill which I should have paid for myself, and I can also say I completely reject any kind of premise that there's any kind of a link between.
So are you sorry, or are you sorry that you got caught?
I am I am sorry because this should never have happened in the first place.
Could you answer that question? Why did you do it?
I did it because I didn't reflect. I didn't stop and think. No. Sean. Let me answer the question. No. Sean. Let's be clear, right? This was a type of bill that I should have paid myself, and even though at the time I hadn't reflected on that this could create while at the time I didn't reflect on the fact that this could create an opportunity for misrepresentation, in doing so, I realised that was a mistake. I mean, I can't be any more honest and clear than to be able to stand here and say, right? And I'm fessing up here. No. I am, Sean. I am. Right? I am. Right? Sean, I am. I asked a company to pay the bill because I didn't stop to think, and I should have, and I didn't.
But you didn't, obviously, you didn't want to pay yourself, right?
And I should have.
Okay, you didn't want to pay yourself.
And I should have.
Why didn't you want to pay yourself?
To be honest, I think in hindsight, I should have paid it myself. No. Hear me out.
Just want to save some money, didn't you?
Look, I don't think that's the correct characterisation. What I do believe is that. Well, no.
Is there.
Are you paid enough as a senator?
Last question.
Of course we are. Look, senators are incredibly well paid, and when we get hang on, let me answer. Senators are incredibly well paid. We're incredibly fortunate, and it sits outside of community expectations when I received a bill for $1,670 that I asked somebody else to pay it so that I didn't have to pay it myself.
Do you realise?
Right? I just want to say, right? It's
so that you didn't have to pay it yourself.
And that was wrong. That was a mistake. I regret that. And I think I fessed up and said it was the wrong thing to do. I think that's...
Is your position still answering all these questions?
Thank you. I think I've answered...
Is your position still tenable, Senator?
Of course it is. And look, I think I've answered... I've been here for 25 minutes. We're going around in circles. We've answered question after question. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that is Labor Senator Sam Dastyari answering questions from the media after an extensive period away from the media after it was revealed that a Chinese company had paid a legal bill for him.